Now it's my pleasure to introduce an old friend, one of the top aerial DPs in the business, David Nowell, ASC. Well, you've worked on a lot of the big movies over the last few decades, Lord of the Rings, Hunger Games, Pirates that you mentioned. You've been at this a while. I think Apocalypse Now is on your resume.
Yeah, I know. That's the thing is, I do date myself on that. I was the assistant cameraman on that, but I did have the opportunity to do some of the work, most of the stuff inside the Huey that you would see. They threw me in there with a Continental mount, and David Butler was in the other ship, and off we'd go and do some of the filming. So I had a bit of operating credit on that, but I was the assistant on that.
Well, you're very qualified, though, to tell us a little bit about the history of aerial cinematography.
How long do we have? It's funny because Rex Metz is here, and a longtime friend and associate, and he's actually the one that got me started in this industry. He was the first cameraman I ever worked with on a ground shoot, but because of Rex's background doing aerials with Tyler and everything, he introduced me to a company called Continental Camera Systems that started where the Home Depot is right now.
We're talking about the Tyler mount, which was the thing, right?
Tyler was the thing at the time, and then Continental Camera was coming in 1972 to compete against that as another door-mounted, not gyro stabilized, but kind of a gimbal type of system. And Rex introduced me to the people there, worked with them from 1972 on, but that's what got me started in the industry. And at the time, they had one of these 48-inch, the 4-foot units sitting there that came out of Canada. And that was the first introduction for me to remote controls. Matter of fact, the old original desk and everything is in the lobby. I saw it there. But that was my first introduction to remote control and a joystick operated system.
So it went from tearing the door off of a Jet Ranger and hanging out the back with a Tyler mount or Continental mount to a sphere that's on the nose, probably?
Well, that one was mounted on the side. The only thing they could come up with was bracketry that would mount to the side of a helicopter, and we had Bell 47s and we had a Jet Ranger at the time. And they had a video version and they had a film version. This is 74, and I think the last one in 76 crashed, and gyro stuff went away for a long time, and it went back to nothing but Tyler and Continental mount in the side door. And probably about, I guess, mid-'80s is when the gyrosphere first came into the United States. It had been in Norway. Ron Goodman, who later on started SpaceCam, had one of those systems, came into the States as gyrosphere, and that started about 1984 because they tried to use it for the '84 Olympics in Los Angeles. And that began, I think, most of the remote control kind of work, and they went to the 36-inch balls. And then Westcam came down with theirs in 1987. And I did one of the very first jobs with that. And then it's just, the momentum has picked up from there. It's become almost just nothing but the gyro-stabilized ball systems of some sort.
So you're sitting inside the cockpit, and nice and comfortable.
Nice and comfortable.
Compared to having your legs hanging out on the
Some of these things I did in Valdez, Alaska in the wintertime or something like that, and you've got everything on to try to stay warm with the door off and stuff, and now you're telling the guy to turn the heater down. It's getting hot in here, but it is the luxury of being inside the helicopter. The new ones now are so sophisticated. They're so nice. HD monitors, and now we're shooting with, Alexa Red. Everything that we see is HD, and the systems are so sophisticated on their stabilization and stuff. It's just a lot of fun to work with. But the thing is that I had that chance in 1974 to work with remote control, and that I translated into that world fairly easy. So I was just lucky to have had that background before all the gyro remote control stuff really caught on. And so now with the drones and everything, I'm working with the wireless thing. I'm not normally used to just hand holding it because it sits on a desk or sits on my lap and stuff, but it's still the same controls. So I've been lucky enough to kind of segue into the drone aspect of it too, right? The main thing is the pilot, and it's always been. I'm sure Rex will agree with me that the pilots that we work with all these years, 40 some odd years now, they're the key to the shot. If the pilot can't get me into a position to get it, I don't care how good I am or my experience and stuff. If I can't get there, I can't get the shot. And these guys have been great, and that's who we work with most of the time, and that's what's happening now. These drone pilots are the guys that are going to be the key to this kind of work. When I first saw this stuff, I said, I've never seen drone work like this before, but it was the pilot. It's the key to it.
So it's a team approach. That's the name of your business is Team 5.
Well, yeah, Team 5 is a little business that we put together. Part of our division is that we recognize the fact that it's not going to just be the gyro-stabilized manned helicopter kind of work. It's got to encompass the drone aspect of it because it's the coming thing. But we wanted to make sure it was as professional as possible, and we were forced to because of the exemption, like Tom explained. There's all these guidelines. We have to follow that. We have the trained pilots, we have the trained operators and trained technicians and all that kind of stuff. And you know, we're just segueing into the bigger films as we have been doing, but with the drone stuff.
And it's all necessary. All the same functions need to be fulfilled, right?
It still needs to really be a three-man team, and it needs to be the pilot, just like it would be with a helicopter, your cameraman to operate the gimbal and stuff, but you really need that, what we're calling the visual observer, but we normally work with the ground coordinator, and he'll be the one on the radio next to the first AD. We may be up there flying through the streets, but just like we did on Insurgent recently, I mean, we blocked off 8 blocks in Chicago and the river and everything, and that's what you do to get the shot. But somebody's on the ground that's working with the AD that lets us know what's going on. You have to do the same exact thing with the drone. The only difference is you probably take off from the street and pick it up and do the same kind of shot, but you have to have the same people, for safety, for everything. You're still blocking off. We had 100 PAs that were. We did it on the weekend, so most of the buildings are shut down, but you just have to do the same type of thing.
Now, just like I do on the ground in a narrative scene, I help the director block. And tell us about how you work with the director and how you design shots, sequences.
It depends. I mean, a lot of it now is being driven by visual effects. So a lot of that has been prevised. It's the director, this is what he wants. The visual effects guy says, this is what I have to have. And we're dictated to that a lot. I just got back from New Mexico. We're working on a new Tina Fey movie. They wanted to put her inside Huey's from Kirkland Air Force Base, and then they said, why don't you guys come in and do the aerials of it? And it was just, they're going up to do their stuff with coverage inside, and whatever the Air Force pilots were going to do, we dictated where they would fly for the background, supposed to look like Afghanistan, and we're on our own. And so we just have to make it up on the fly. And so it was an hour's worth of like, this looks good, that doesn't look good. Make it go from 1 to 2 type of thing. So some of it's very scripted, and some of it is based on exactly what the director wants, and then you tell him what he can get, and then you try to get what it is that he needs. You know how to do it yourself. And some of this is just, you get up there and it's all ad lib.
What do you see for the future of aerial cinematography? Where's it going?
You know, people ask that and they go, you're still at it, where's it going and stuff, and I'm going, it just keeps going. Because of all the shots that we used to do 15 years ago, I see the truck, I see this, move this. Now it's like, I don't care what's there, they'll take it out digitally. I mean, it's like Michael Bay on Bad Boys 2, I think it was. I said, Michael, I cannot get the insert car out of the shot because it's tracking the Ferrari that I have to track. And he goes, don't worry about it, I'll take it out later on. And I went, from now on, I'm never going to worry about what's in the shot. If they can take that out, and that's part of the thing. It's become easier from that it doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. We can take it out, and as you've seen, so much has been changed now. But because it may have segued away from doing the real thing, it's gone so much into all the stuff with robots. I've been filming robots now for 10 years or so, never knowing what the shot is. I'm just doing stuff and they add it in later on. But you still have to get the real element. Every visual effects guy will say, I need the real thing. If you're flying through real buildings or if you're flying over a real forest, it has to be the real thing. We'll add the other stuff in, but it just keeps going. It just hasn't stopped. So I think it's just going to keep going, and it's just going to be more added in with the drone stuff.
Well, thank you very much for sharing.
Absolutely. No, thank you.